All right, enough of this. Yeah, enough of this. Let's just watch SCL. And in the thumbnail, it looks like someone is there that we haven't seen in many, many years. So that might be interesting.
To make a few statements before you go any further. The first is that his friends call him Parp, and he will appreciate
they do this for,
your indulgence.
I'm limited on time. They do this meme for a while.
This book is an honest endeavor. No one connected in any way with the production of this book has received any interest whatsoever in promoting the products of any manufacturer or companies mentioned in this book. No one connected with this book has ever requested, received, or been offered any chainsaws. Received or been offered any chainsaws, gift, bribe of any kind. No test models, no exchange, trade, or deal.
Some stuff.
What Parp says here, he believes. When he's wrong, he's just plain wrong.
And that's the foreword from Barnacle Parp's Chainsaw Guide, the most brilliant
no pausing
book
stream.
ever.
If we do a no pausing stream,
100-year-old bookstore.
I think I can make it
in Buxton, and I knew it was for me when I opened it up to page 124, chapter 8, how to use your chainsaw.
That's right.
I'm like, this person.
Okay, go back to the queue. This is worse.
And 7 chapters on his chainsaw guide before he got to how to use your chainsaw.
Yeah.
That's a man after my heart. Barnacle Parp.
Chainsaw Man.
Very real book. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee.
Just so you know, watching this live, very soon after this, I quit watching.
I'm sure there's absolutely nobody in the live chat right now that hasn't heard news that folks are trying their absolute hardest to get Alpha 318 out the door. What I'm being told in my little chats here is that they're still working diligently on that. Shout out to Ahmed and all the team members in our ATX studio who are banging on the pipes, as it were, to get that out. I have no other information to give you beyond that. I mean, heck, we tried yesterday. We were like, yeah. In the show where I said no dates, we went like, yeah, it's going to be today.
You relented.
Sometimes you know better, but you still you get caught up. You get caught up in the faith. You get caught up in the belief.
What's kind of sad is that they considered it live yesterday when nobody can get in.
And
That's the thing that really
it's
sucks.
certainly through no lack of trying. The folks are there doing their best. And yeah, so best I can
I'll
say
have to
is
agree with
continue
that, Jared.
to
Everyone's
keep an eye
trying.
on the robertspaceindustriescom website and the socials for details. And for today's show, because so many people are working to get that patch out, we've got folks who are going to goof off and hang out with us this week. So this is my second biggest.
Bro, there is a 0% chance that because so many people were trying to get that patch out, that there was nobody available. They were all in our chats hanging out yesterday. He just likes to do this, and this is his excuse.
Big disclaimer
to do it.
of the day here. If you're tuning in,
they were all in our Twitch chats hanging out. They weren't working
at all about Star Citizen or Squadron 42. I would watch something else right now. Go and watch the amazing Design Brief Engineer episode.
Yeah, all
of,
800 employees
4.0
working on a release patch.
That's going to be the show.
Good one, Jared.
If you want to hang out for an hour and goof off and learn about which maple syrup Benoit thinks is the best.
Yes.
This is the show for you. Which maple syrup is the best, Benoit?
Any made in Quebec.
Any.
All of them made in Quebec are the ones you want. If they're not made in Quebec, it's not the real stuff.
You leave no room whatsoever for like Vermont maple syrup?
No. I'm sorry, guys. You know, I mean, we have a Fort Knox of maple syrup. You know, that stuff's too good.
Don't say I didn't warn you. If you watch it from this point on and you complain, that's on you.
That's when I quit.
Benoit.
Yes.
When he said that, I went, well, I guess I won't watch
The show is somebody's first show. Left. And now that we've gotten all the people with taste and other things to do with their time out of here, tell us who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
All right. Well, my name is Benoit Beauséjour. I'm the CTO of Turbulent, a company that takes care of web platform, game services, and we actually make content in the game now. And so, yeah, I oversee about 200 people technologically.
Wow.
Now, Star Citizen, Cloud Imperium Games, and everything. We have a history of working with outsourcers, going back to the Void Alpha, way back when, and stuff like this. Fire Sprite. What was the one in Colorado?
I'm gonna try and
can't
multitask.
remember.
Give me a second, guys.
The original Star Marine folks who made.
Now that you're asking, I'm
Friday
like
the
blanking
13th,
out.
I can't remember. We worked with a lot
Ilphonic.
of Ilphonic,
Yes.
This guy
and many
heads
more
the
that I'm not
studio.
thinking, Gamers On and stuff like this.
Yeah.
We're always looking for partners in
Working
crime
on
here.
one of the studios that are
but
helping work on Server Meshing.
That's a turn of phrase. I'll go to Reddit with that.
Yeah.
But Turbulent has stood out amongst all of our partners. You've been here almost from the very beginning, and you've stuck with the project. You're responsible for so much of making Star Citizen
I think Turbulent
possible.
does have other
What do you think sets Turbulent apart? Why has Turbulent been here when other folks have moved on?
That's a kick-ass question to start.
Yeah, I know. I'm just jumping in.
I think it's because a project like this requires a full commitment and a level of passion. It's not just a business relationship, right? And since we've been on the project since the very beginning, like coming in to help even at the Kickstarter stage of the project, there was already like a desire to continue, right? To jump in on the dream and find what we could do to help to make it happen. We were super fortunate to, that Chris trusted us at the very beginning to start building a crowdfunding platform for the game.
I might need to jump out one more second, and then we can go.
The first time
look at the queue and see how I'm doing.
Well, are you going to keep crowdfunding? Like, of course we're going to, there's a vision to build. And so I didn't get that at the beginning, right?
Now we can go
Now
back.
I do. But I think the reason why we've stuck together is because we've been able to build a business relationship together that makes sense for both sides, right? That economically makes sense, but also is built on passion and relentless opportunity, not opportunity, but optimism, right? And so I think that
you would have to have relentless
to
optimism.
jump into crazy projects, right? Just at the very beginning, even it was, the project was just taking off even bigger than anybody would think. And so we were the team that had to respond initially because, CIG was basically, Chris and Sandy at the beginning, right? And so...
and Ortwin and
of course. I'm not removing anybody.
It's like 8 people though. It's
like a small shell,
it's
right?
a very small shell.
Exactly.
At that point in 2012,
yeah. So I think the reason why this has worked out is because we've become an integral part of the family, right? In the missions that we take and in the way we execute them, right? And I'm hoping that will continue because for me, Star Citizen is, I love the project. I love the universe. I'm a gamer myself, and so it's very easy to just get carried away and always do the extra mile.
So let's talk about Turbulent itself, because there's obviously you've been here for a while, but where the project is growing, there's many people out there who probably have no idea what Turbulent is, what they do. So detached just from CIG, just if you had to explain what Turbulent is, what is Turbulent?
So I've been wondering that question for a while. But so
they're a game studio
Turbulent
now.
is a company that I started with my partner Mark
studio.
in 2002, where we both met in other companies, and we sort of became the rescue fire team on many technology projects, right? And so we had the opportunity to start a company with a very small project, but it was like the seed of something. And so we started Turbulent as
I failed again.
Oh, you've got technology to do? We can do it. Right?
I give up.
So we started as
We'll just
we would
watch
take
this.
any kind of gig. And that over the years, we sort of specialized in certain clients in the media and entertainment business. So initially on the web, then closer to games, then closer to even TV show, movie, film, where we build custom technologies for interactive works or VR or et cetera, right? So we sort of became a specialist in the crazy projects, right? Where, we've even done some installations in Philly for a local artist in Montreal that had a super large installation to do with 10,000 spots in the downtown Philly, and it was last minute. we need a gang of thinkers to figure out a solution to this. So that became sort of our calling card. And obviously, we've both been gamers. Like Mark and I, very different types of gamers, but we've always been close to games, and so we always wanted to get closer to the video games industry. Obviously, we're in Montreal, which is like the sun. Yeah. I mean, video games is a huge business in our city, and I mean, just around our office is just a million studios, right? And so it was easy for us to get close and then start building technology for games, and that's basically how, through projects, we got to meet Chris through that, and then fall in love with the project.
So when you touched on this a little bit earlier, but how did the meeting with Chris go? How did Turbulent?
The one thing about Benoit is he's one of the most honest people.
No, that's a good one.
When it comes to talking
in the
about
initial
stuff like this.
crowdfunding, there was already a desire to fund a bigger game, right? The Chris has always had this vision that he has now, and so
see, like, to know something like that, even in the crowdfunding, there was always this idea to fund a bigger
to be able
game,
to build up,
to always
a team
push
and
it.
the people around it. So there was already a need to build bigger. So there was already a web platform at the time, and there was major issues.
Let me know if you guys have any issues. I'm trying to render a video while watching this video and streaming all at the same time on the same
that
computer.
It could have put the project in danger, right? And so through contacts, right, we got referred as a team that could come in and help sort out the situation. And so it's the entire relationship started with a really small project that I've dubbed literally Fix the Website, which was and so we started this I think it was end of November 2012, right, initially, and then so we fixed the issues, and then we moved on to like, okay, how can we keep this going, keep the project going, and start delivering. The Hangar module was like right around the corner, right? So it's like December we fix, we start building, we launch the first platform, I think in June 2013, so it's like not even 5 months later, and then 2 months after that, the Hangar module. So it was like, and all of this needed infrastructure work and new stuff with a new team that we never met before, and so
And the Hangar module back then partnered with Behavior and
correct,
and Dave Richard and
exactly, that's right,
and Christine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Dave Richard, who's gone on to Dead by Daylight fame. So shout out to Dave Richard.
Yeah, Dave actually is the original author of Hyper Vanguard Force as well.
Yes, which you brought in on as like a spare time. It's like, I did this in the spare time.
Oh,
we're just like, what?
That's the guy who made Hyper Vanguard Force.
I made a video game. I almost used my one swear. So we are obviously getting a lot of folks in chat who maybe weren't here at the beginning. This is your reminder that today's show is not Alpha 318 Watch. Today's show was scheduled a while back. We thought we were going to do 318 yesterday, so it's an unfortunate conflux of events that folks are waiting for Alpha 318 now when we're doing the show.
Dude,
the best we can tell you is that top people are on it.
This is like
Ahmed
9 hours
and the
before
teams,
they
your
went
support
live.
teams at Turbulent are on it. Someone was like, they can't be fixing anything. Benoit's here, as if you were the only person at Turbulent who ever worked on anything.
Yeah, no, there's kick-ass people on this.
So stay tuned stay tuned to the website and the social medias. That's where you're going to hear any info. We're not going to have any info on 318 for you here today. So you mentioned fixing the website. Yeah. I think folks are.
I just think some people have never played an MMO, so like these things always happen. But at the same time, oh, I see it struggling now. At the same time, I do think that it's a situation that maybe didn't need to be as bad as it is now. I don't know.
Folks are hammering Spectrum and everything right now. So chat's going down on the website. This website's actually having trouble now as you're sitting here talking about fixing the website.
Of course.
Awesome. Awesome timing.
A classic.
On our part. So you started with the website, but where did the work with that isn't where the association with Turbulent stops.
No.
So walk me through this timeline of Turbulent's involvement with Sierra.
Yeah,
Where do
I'm
you
going
go
to
from
pause
there at
the
original crowdfunding
the
platform?
render.
Right. So
it should be fine now.
So from the
do it after.
platform, right? Obviously, even starting right at the Hangar module.
I got you guys. It should be good now, right?
That's already like an extension of the web. We're no longer just doing web. We're like doing authentication work, account systems for the launcher, the very first launcher.
The OG before Delta patch.
Fun memories of that. Anyway, and
need
so
a new
we
GPU
still had
if
to
I wanna
power
do
that.
what
so
I
we're
was
already,
doing.
pairing, web platform engineers with game engineers designing APIs to support that. And so that was the first touch point. You got to remember at the time, CIG is a company that's being built, right? The game scope is also being assessed.
Different PCs.
And so there's a lot of people that are working on the engine, right? We're talking at the time, porting the engine 64-bit, entity ports, item port systems, everything's coming in online. And so there's no time to build services, right? Or we don't have a team to build support services for the Hangar module or et cetera, right? And so that's where we started to, over the years, get involved on that side, right? To try to help out getting a bit more firepower there. So I remember, if I remember right, the very first service we made was the Arena Commander leaderboards service, which is now very old. And
But due to get an update in the some updates in the upcoming 3.8.
Yes. We're working with
maybe
AC.
a little bit of news.
We're working with the AC team on that for sure. They sort of put them back into shape a little bit. I mean, the interfaces are still perfect, but the service is really old school, very legacy.
A little bit.
That was the first one, right? So the way it's built is a bit bizarre because at the time is extracting data from the game. There was no real game backend. That was really, really the first one. Fast forward a couple of years later, where there was even more needs for game services. So the pre-party system, right? So we got involved in helping out to build the first party system, group systems. That
they've
also
done a
came with
lot
chat
of
and
the important things
the
that we
first voice
use
over
all
IP,
the
and
time.
then ultimately, face over IP transport in the back end. So that's teams
The
that are
party
literally
system?
Contributing, working solely with game devs
Is
on
so
implementing
key
services.
for
I think we
us.
skipped Community Hub. Wasn't Community Hub in there before?
Oh,
RP?
yeah, of course. I've
original?
skipped a ton of web stuff in the meantime.
Community Hub.
The very first community hub,
Now, Tristan,
the
I can't
issue
get in game.
council, right, was our first experiment.
This
Issue
is my
Council is
game.
huge.
Yeah, that was. I'm really happy about this. To be honest, the issue council was like an experiment at first, right? When, it was how can we get backers that want the help to really help us, right? And then the first thing that came to mind was well, if we could have a system where we could get bug reports in one funnel, right? So that we could bring them to the producers of the different team with the right importance.
Yeah,
from the
Alt
community,
F4, try again.
Giving them a voice in the process, that would help, right? And so the very first issue council was built really rapidly just to, all right, see how does it go? And then it was a huge success. I mean, even to this day, I'm still proud, because the bug reports we get from players are very, very high quality.
That first, who had the first idea? Who, if you can remember, let's give backers, our players, access to Jira tool. Access to Jira to be able to create, Jiras and stuff.
Yeah.
That must have been a heck of a conversation.
Yeah, of course.
The star map.
Yeah, the star map was that story about the star map is a funny one because we had reached some kind of a milestone with the team, and then we were looking for what the next project is going to be, and then, in a typical CIG fashion, we asked the community, hey, what should the web team do next? And then, I mean, there was a whole bunch of other things we thought were going to be voted on, and then the star map was definitely the top winner. And so we started doing research on how we could implement a star map way before the game would even, touch that data, based on
Still doesn't touch that
the
data.
lore of the universe, their positions, but still be respectful about basically how it's going to look in game. So, the star map was a very long project and very ambitious because it was on the web, right? So we're not in a web client. We don't have Star Engine. We don't have a high poly count. It needs to run on everybody's machine in Chrome. And so that was a super cool project where that's the first time we actually introduced Game Horizon to the project, doing shader work for us.
I feel like I need to insert that we are talking about the
web
star map,
correct?
Which you can access by going literally to robertspaceinitiatives.com/star map, if I remember correctly.
That's
Yes.
right.
And not the current in-game one, which we all feel exactly like you do about it. Let's just Just leave it at that. We all feel exactly the same.
The difference is you probably know what the new one
Same as
looks
you do
like,
about the
you
in-game one.
motherfucker.
So,
You
continue.
son of a
Awkward
bitch.
silence. Let's go. But yeah. So the web star map was big. I mean, I was really proud of that because at the end of the year
Damn
we
it,
did win an
Jared.
award, which was the Adobe Innovation Award of the Year. But the category we were in was against other, web interactive experiences that were, Star Wars was in there. There's like giant other things, and the star map won. So I thought that was really a big achievement for the team. I mean, it's still running today.
Some old console or something.
Spectrum.
This thing on his
Spectrum
desk
is the next
people have been
one,
talking
right?
about.
So
I don't know what
that
it
was
is.
about bringing the community together and also building the first bridge to connect with the game. Obviously, since we proposed those plans, we reached a point where the entire team that was working on this is working on other things like persistence. So, but we will revisit that to close the gap at some point because that is still in the vision, right? That there's an in-game and out-of-game experience, and Spectrum is the conduit for that. And so, yeah, Spectrum was big because it was bringing back the community from a really old initial chat system that was in place. And so we wanted to combine the forums with chat and then have it connected with the game, but also allow orgs to
Quattro, I
basically
don't work
build
there,
their own
so
space
I don't
in
know.
it.
Let's talk about persistence.
Yeah.
Since we're all sitting here, they're looking at chats. I'm looking at my chats, seeing if there's any message from anybody. We're all just kind of waiting, whatever. 318 is the imminent arrival of the first major milestone in persistence.
It's such a big deal, this patch. It really is.
And members of both of your teams and this, you kind of finished your work to hand it over to the development team several months ago. Again, ish like this. Looking back at this, how do you feel about it so far?
Oh, it's a really ambitious project. I mean, I feel good about it. I think that the game teams, the service teams, and all the directors that were involved did a fantastic job at it. I think there's the idea to take an entity system in a game engine and make it persist is like huge, right? I mean, you can do it in ephemeral storage, but to do it across at the scale we're doing is it's crazy just proposition, right? And so I feel like we've done a really good job at it. And what I like the most is it was really one of the first projects where we had full collaboration between game teams and like the network team and the service team, like really close collaboration, like, not like a separate silo kind of approach. Right. It was really meshed, and that really worked out. And I think everybody feels really good about it because like nobody was left like, oh, your thing doesn't work. Or I was like, no, let me help you. Like everybody was very moving forward, and so that's really cool. I mean, I feel good about it. Neat. I think it's.
And a big part of that, you used the word mesh, and I was like, a big part of that is because Turbulent has now, and has been for the last 2 years now, 3 years, 2 years now, been building up a game team within Turbulent. It's finally making that expansion you were talking about. Talk to me about.
We need a Montreal game design team. Just saying.
That, how many people are we talking about now on the game team?
I mean,
an exact number, because I'm going to check
precise number.
Yeah,
you're going to call HR after this. I don't know exactly. I think we are up to at least 50 to 60 people in that team.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's also very nice because everybody in that team is so talented. It's incredible, and the vibe is great. I'm happy that we're able to bring another unit to build locations in the game world. Plus now we're adding to that group like other disciplines that can help them make better content.
I was going to say it's more than just a locations team. Correct. You've got there's a tools team.
That's right.
There's a locations team. There's a character team.
Yes, exactly. And,
I don't know if we've seen anything from the character team yet.
Are also in the mix. Obviously, design team is working all together, but I like to see it as a unit because the idea has always been in the approach that Guillaume, that you've been in other shows, has always proposed for the team is a multidiscipline team that has all the facilities.
It was a lot of gifted over the last couple
A
weeks.
microcosm of the whole
Exactly.
thing.
That takes time to
view counts up.
get all these people on board. But it's really cool because now you
So
can
like
see
the
the
fact
output
that
is
Star Citizen is
steady.
doing well.
The team is happy as well.
The boats
like,
are
we're
rising
rolling
with
through
Star
it.
Citizen.
But you're right. Like now
sure.
we've got some gameplay programmers. The online service team is right next to this, right? So they all work together. Even on service-related problems when there are any, right? So yeah, that's been a super exciting ride to start a new studio in the city for Star Citizen. Like, talking to candidates, getting them excited about joining the project, showing them what we're doing. A lot of people were like, "Oh, the project is big. I don't know if I want to get in there." And then I would invite them over to the office to meet some people. They would see the vibe, and then that would convince them to join. Or I would put them in one of our SimPod pits, and then they would go like, "Yeah, I want to work on this." Right? So,
You've been over
that's
here.
Funny. They got a SimPod to recruit people. Look at this cool game.
I often say that our titles are where we start, and it's not really a great explanation of what we do and what.
But
it's a couple months ago. You and I were here until like 1:30 in the morning, along with John Erskine, putting sim pods together until 1:30 in the morning because it's like it's somebody's got to do it. It might as well be us.
right.
Have fun with it.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. It's after hours. It's an extra time, but it's. I like one of the reasons I think you and I synced very early on is because we're the types of people that just see a thing that needs to be done and just like I can
Jump
do that.
in.
I can do that.
Yeah.
And if there is somebody who's supposed to be doing, you're supposed to be doing. Okay, go ahead.
Right.
And then we'll give them little pointers. But until that person shows up, we can do it. One of the teams we left out for Turbulent is also a ship team, which is
that's brand
just
new.
started,
brand new, still
Yes.
it's still in its nascent stage.
Yeah.
So as part of this effort to basically just truly build a microcosm of every aspect of Star Citizen's game development, you're now gonna building up a ship team out there.
That's right. Yeah, that's also a super big step because ships are like our heroes, right? In a way, and so having the opportunity to work on ships even closely is giant, right? Yeah. And I think that's exciting. Everybody in the studio also
It sucks that the ships are the heroes.
We also have our branding team, which is there, which we visual guidelines, and so
the only part that
team is also picking up all the brands that you're seeing in game.
The in-game brands, yeah.
Correct, in-game brands. That's right. And so also they work on signage. They work on everything you see in game that has some kind of signage or
the
branding.
Jump would have
or,
such a bigger
whether
impact.
It's in Siege of Orison, whether it's in
if it was earned.
I know they've done some work in Area 18, whatever. It's really cool to also
and that's
have
the
access
other
to
thing.
these guys locally.
Kowalski, it's what makes the game possible. So
it's super
kind
great.
of just got to throw your hands up,
Disco, why do you hate the caterpillar? It's chat like.
You hate the caterpillar?
One minute chat's full of crabs. The next minute chat's like, where's 318?
Sure,
I don't know, folks. And then there's like, why do you hate the caterpillar? Because it should turn into a butterfly, and it hasn't yet. I don't know. But no, you said the ships are the heroes. I want to shout out again, just because we're here, we're having fun, we're
Explain
goofing
yourself,
off.
Jared
But there are some folks who are really having a day right now on our publishing technology team.
Yes.
Ahmed, Bryce, Hatham, Jeffrey, Ivan, Nathan, Scott.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting
God
people.
damn. Yeah, good memory.
Forgetting people.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all out there.
And Live QA is also there.
Live QA, Marissa,
Right, really
so, folks out there, again, keep your eye on the robertspaceinjuries.com website and socials. That's the only place you're going to find information about the current progress of 318 because I don't know. Because I'm over here.
Who
on a
made that
spaceship
emote, BB?
Moving off.
Yeah.
With that, Benoit, that's all we got time for.
Cool.
Is there some, we don't usually have you here, you're over here visiting. Yeah. Is there something you want to say to the community, something you want to leave the community with, something just like, I don't know when the next time we're going to have you on, just.
I'm back next week, right? I could be a regular list. No.
Read more of the Chainsaw Guy.
I mean, I always say the same thing. I think to the community is, I think we're we're all a team built of passion, and we like the game as much as you do. Like, again, I play quite a bit, even though you don't know.
Emmy's gonna love when she sees that emote.
For me, I love being connected with the community, interacting with them, playing with them sometimes. I've done some jump downs on the cover, and that was great. And keep playing, guys, and hopefully when our 318 persistent goes online,
I can't wait. I have not tried jump down with persistence
I think it is worth noting, as far as 318 information goes, it's not going to be a light switch and everything is going to work.
No.
I don't think anybody is saying otherwise or alluding otherwise.
No.
This is the biggest and most massive change to Star Citizen's Foundation.
Yeah.
It crumbled.
Ever, really, because it is the foundation. 3.0 was about adding planets. It's like 2.0 was the inception of the persistent universe, but 318 is sort of like it's like trying to pull the sheet off the table and leave everything on the table standing without knocking over like this. So
hopefully we knock just a couple of glasses.
Yeah, and for as amazing as Evil Cody is, and Wave 1 and Wave 2 and even Open PTU, you can never get the concurrency you're going to get when you go to Live.
Thank you so much.
Live is still an alpha testing environment, so part of the reason we're doing this is because there's going to be things that we don't find until
I'm watching this and I have to go to
we
work.
go live. So while those folks are working on getting that out, I'm just saying, I see folks who are on Twitter or whatnot, and they're like, I took the day off for this, or I'm planning to do a 0 to Hero run or whatever. I'm saying let's just prepare for some turbulence.
Great.
It's going to be one of those patches, but we'll be right back in next week or the week after with point patches and
Oh yeah, that effort keeps going for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know which one you're talking about, Tristan.
Yeah.
If maybe a little frustrating, for being completely honest. It's a little frustrating, but it's an exciting time all the same.
Yes.
Benoit. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. So up next, we're going to throw it to a throwback. Way back in the days of Reverse the Verse, we did a little skit with Squadron 42 composer Mr. Jeff Zanelli. And since our next guests are Squadron 42 art directors, Nate Dearsley and
there we go. We're going to skip because I need
like
to jump ahead of time
my
anyway.
Absolute favorite. No, you're not supposed to pick favorites.
If you guys
want to
watch that link of the
video, but this is my
video,
absolute favorite thing that we have on the ship.
I'll give it to you.
This is a system facility directory and terminal area charts for the Stanton system by an organization called Delta Consulting. This is a person or persons who are actual air traffic controllers, or at least they were before they used workplace materials to goof off like this. And they created basically HEC charts for the entire Stanton system. Every point of interest that existed at that time. It's got fold out maps here at the end.
That
here.
is nerdy as hell and it's super awesome.
Stuff. It's seriously cool. And I mean, it's a bit out of date now because this was back in 2017. But this is my favorite thing. And my secret hope is that might get to see them at CitizenCon this year, and maybe there might be an update and stuff for my book. Welcome back to Star Citizen Live. I'm still Jared Huckabee. We don't know where Alpha 318 is. Folks are still banging on the pipes and trying to get it out.
PDFs.
So, keep your eye on the website
Jared.
and the socials for details. On the second half of the show, we have two people we have not seen one person we haven't seen in a long time. And Jake, have you ever been on one of these? We did once. I don't remember.
Many years ago.
Many years. It's been a while. We got Squadron 42 art director, Mr. Nate Dearsley.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. And
the last time we saw Nate Dearsley, he had hair.
Assistant art director, Mr. Jake Gainey.
Hello, sir.
How you doing?
DeltaConsultingSC.com. Okay.
Nate.
I was just admiring this because it reminded me of the good old days of computer games.
We should
when
DM that to
the
Jared.
boxes were like this big, and you used to get like 10 discs out for your Atari or your Amiga, and your instruction manual was the anti-piracy thing, if you remember, you were installing it. And you used to get the keyboard overlays, so like F11 7A Stealth Fighter, Microprose.
Keyboard overlays.
Jeff Cremon's F1, like all of those classic games. You used to get as much literature as that with it. It was good. It was good times.
Yeah, you used to get so much literature with games.
We went digital.
You know, it's like I lament sometimes that my nephews will never get the video store experience of getting to walk the aisles of movies and only getting to select a movie, the one movie you were going to get to watch that weekend based on box art, 2 little pictures on the back and a blurb. And it was an important choice you had to make every weekend because this was the only movie you were going to have all weekend to watch. And then if you had a little brother negotiating or a sister negotiating with them, like, I'm going to pick this one, you pick this one, and trying to get them to. Maybe that was just me.
That was definitely
Nate,
not just you.
Welcome back. How did you? Okay, now I asked Jake. I asked Jake to be on the show and whatnot, and Jake comes back to me and says, "Oh no, we're going to get Nate and whatnot." You've never done a live show. What brought you here? What's going on?
Well,
it's been a while.
I'm trying to return the favor to you, basically. You've been paramount in helping out our review processes on Squadron 42. We've got long story short, we've got an amazing new facility that we're able to use to play the game and review the game. And you've been paramount in making sure that my team can use it and train them up. And I thought, you know what? I'll come in.
Paramount and patient as well.
Yes, very patient.
Very patient.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I was pleasantly
That's
surprised
cool.
when I went to collect and saw that you were there. Let's talk a little bit about your history because if I've got Nate, I want to get your story here because I don't know when the next time I'm going to get. How did you?
Kucher up a lot of people, but it seems random.
How did you come to be an art director in video games? Because it was kind of a circuitous story from the bits that I'm aware of. And I don't know the whole story, but what is the story of Nate Dearsley? How'd you get here?
Into CIG or as just into art as general?
Into video game art direction. Let's go there.
Video game, yeah, long. I mean, it's a really long story, and I'll try and abbreviate it as quickly as I can.
It's all right. We don't have any 318 news to share, so
true. Might as well.
So in school, I always wanted to be an architect. I was fascinated with engineering and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, you hear that, Morph?
And maths and art and all of those worlds sort of come together. I was due to go off and study architecture by quite a serious car accident, which means I missed my window at that time, and bizarrely ended up in catering for a year. Which ended up being 2 years, which ended up being 3 years, which ended up being 4 years. Because I got used to the money, I got used to the lifestyle, and I just thought, you know what, I'll just kind of do what I do. And then I just ended up hating it.
My neighbors where I grew up are in catering.
So I went back to uni, as what you would term as a mature student then. And just studied. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just wanted to do something with graphics. I didn't know whether it was going to be 3D. My whole family's quite creative.
Yeah, catering. You're catering parties,
just wanted to
right?
do something, creative in 3D, and that's what I did. I just threw myself at that hammer and tong, and then literally every living, breathing hour that I had spare, I was doing 3D work. That's what I really sort of like lent towards.
I bet he was a chemistry teacher that
got my
became
first
a meth
gig
dealer.
In the industry with a company called Free Radical Design.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
They no longer exist anymore, but well, they do actually. They've just actually opened up shop again, but they're the people behind Time Splitters.
Yeah.
And my first game that I got to work on unofficially was Star Wars Battlefront 3. So
that never was.
And that was the game that, well, it was just 2008 financial crash. A lot of bad stuff happened. So yeah, it was my first title was pretty awesome to sort of get, and I just sort of lived and breathed sci-fi ever since.
Battlefront. I'm sorry. I didn't know this about Battlefront. Battlefront 3 was the one that had like I've seen concept art of like the alternate reality characters. Like what if Luke had gone to the dark side?
Yes.
And stuff like that. It had these parallel universe takes on some of the characters.
Yes. Yeah, it was the first game as well that was it was trying to push what we called a vertical battlefield. So we had life space battles at the same time as battlefield maps going on. Yeah. Super fun. It was really cool. But unfortunately, you never got to see the light of day.
Yeah, when I saw the art about here's Luke here's a dark side Luke, here's a light side Anakin. If Anakin had lived into the original trilogy era and had never fallen like this, I was just like, I was crushed that I was already crushed that we didn't get Battlefront 3. But then when I saw that stuff come out a couple years ago, I was just like, were you involved in that?
With the
with the art, with any of that art I saw?
No, not on the creative decision side of things. I was just a standard artist at then, sort of going through the motions and climbing the ladder. But
Millennium Falcon, right?
Yeah, that was the first. Was it the first? The second asset. The second asset I got to work on was I had to make the Millennium Falcon. That was.
Oh man,
that was good. Yeah.
That's wild. Look at Jared.
Yep.
So where do you go from Battlefront 3?
Jared's going to bother him for a while now.
We sort of then rolled into Crytek days. I worked for Crytek for many years as a lead artist and principal artist. I sort of helped develop a lot of their tools and engines and pipelines. Rolled from that into, for many years I was there, multiple titles. And then I rolled into Alien Isolation. As you know, I'm a huge Alien buff. So I just, I wanted to get my fill of Xenomorph and Ridley Scott, who I'm a huge fan of, as you know. And then I went to work for myself for a bit. Yeah.
Alien Isolation, I would say this even if you weren't sitting here, but it's probably the most successful adaptation of a film in the video game that I've ever seen. Even though it's not an adaptation of that specific story,
such a good
but
game.
Of that world, of that experience that you get. Even if the narrative is different, the as far as there's a world that I saw in a movie, and then I get to play a game in that world. Like there's probably the most successful. I'm looking at Jake because I can't look at you when I say this. It is the most successful translation from movie to video game I've ever seen.
The only problem I had is I wanted to immerse myself in that experience more, but the Xenomorph kept getting me.
I wasn't any good. I will admit that I downloaded a trainer and that made me impervious. It was the only way I was going to beat the game. I was not good. I'm not a good player.
I still can't believe I beat that game.
Yeah.
And then I've never been brave enough to try it in VR. I've heard.
We have VR builds. It was terrifying. Yeah, I think a lot of it gets modded now. So many years ago there was a VR mod that came out, and it's.
Did it get released on VR?
No,
not officially. No,
not officially.
But some really good mods. So Jake, what's your journey?
Similar to Nate in some respects, in that I was a mature student going into university. I'd spent years kind of floating from different jobs. I've always wanted to make video games, be involved in video games. I did it in my own time when I was supposed to be doing my schoolwork. I was making mods for Half-Life, Unreal Tournament, that kind of stuff. But I kind of drifted into a job. I was doing junior project management, actually. It was okay, I had good prospects and I was earning okay money. But I remember driving home, daydreaming about seeing a game I'd made being presented, at E3 or something like that. And I just thought, what am I doing?
Well, you might never see
why,
this one.
Why I need to do something about this. So I've always been, like Nate was saying, I've had a creative background as well. My family creative. So it made sense for me to go in through an artistic path. So that's what I did. I went back to university and studied. I was lucky enough in university to, my tutor at the time, or one of my tutors, Dean, he managed to get me a placement at TT. As you know, TT, a lot of guys from TT, eventually came over to work at
that was where Aaron
Foundry
was.
42,
Aaron Roberts,
CIG then.
Chris's brother.
And that was my
over.
path through there as well. And it was good working with Dean as well, because there's a Battlefield connection as well, or Battlefront connection, sorry, in a similar respect as he worked on the Battlefront games, 1 and 2 as well. So there's a funny connection between us there as well. So yeah, when I came over to TT, I had the opportunity. I think I was there for like 3 years, working as both a VFX artist and an environment artist. And then I had the chance to come over to CIG and took it with both hands,
So the second half of these shows, the first half was more like this week anyway. This week was a bit special because everybody's all hands on deck trying to get the thing out right now. But I like in the second half of these shows, I like to make them a little more personal, a little more get to know people and some of the philosophies behind their decisions. One of the questions I want to ask that have yielded some interesting results, and I'm very curious to hear your answers, is why video games? Like obviously art direct, you can create art for any number of fields out there. What is it about video games that brought you to video games or that keeps you in video games instead of going off to make Mandalorian or something else somewhere?
I mean, I think for me is the combination of so many different elements and fields coming together into a single product, so to speak. That's the right word for it. So if you were to work on a film or you to work on a book or a piece of art, it's very singular. Whereas a video game combines so many of these different disciplines together. And I think video games are the only real thing that you can immerse yourself into that world.
Oh, Emmy.
Equally.
Come here.
Whereas with other media, it's not quite the same. The same feeling that you get to capture somebody with the world that you create. You know? So that's for me anyway. Was always the appeal of video games, is making that kind of cohesive unit of different disciplines.
Good answer.
Good answer.
What you got, Nate?
For me, I mean, I just love video games. Like I've played video games since I was, knee high to a grasshopper. If you
They
can
made an
call it
emote
such
of
a
us
thing.
yesterday.
I'd rush home from school, play video games. This is way back.
They should make an emote out of a Lay's
do you know the
potato
Vectrex?
chip.
Do you remember the
For real.
Vectrex? Yeah.
That's really
So
what they should
I
make
actually
the
brought it
emote.
up in studio the other
Can
day, and everyone
somebody,
looked at me like I was
make
from outer
that?
space.
Because that's hilarious to me.
Can't just ask him to make it. It's got to happen naturally like that. All right, get out of here.
I was like, okay, I'm getting old. Like nobody knows what this is. So there is that connection, but of course, you fantasize with going to work on a film every now and again, or doing different things.
Probably ASN.
Which I've had the opportunity to do. I've been very lucky. I've managed to
If
work
I get in, I'd like to play.
Previs. I've done some film work. I've worked for Apple. I've worked for McLaren F1 team.
Whoa, really?
I've gone through, a lot of industries to not
My
to get where
favorite
I am.
F1?
It's just sort of you find
worked
your
for
path, if that
McLaren?
makes sense. But the key thing for me about working on video games is the culture and the people. You don't really get that anywhere else. It's especially with CIG. It's
then, yeah,
a
we gotta
very
see,
sort of organic
just 'cause
process.
the situation.
Putting the game together, and I love that. And bizarrely, the years that I had in catering taught me to appreciate. Not that the catering thing was that bad, but it taught me to appreciate people more than anything. Because in catering, you're dealing with 70 staff at any one time, or that's what I used to have to do. And then you would be dealing with 200-300 customers at the same time, right? So you gotta develop your sort of your human social skills,
Right.
and be able to kind of communicate clearly, and know when you're winning, know when you're losing. So I'm always sort of like quite thankful for that experience. It's taught me an awful lot about just working with people, and I think it serves me quite well with the team that I'm with now. Yeah.
No, you make a good point. It's my path took me through a lot of weird ways. For 4 years, I worked in baseball, professional baseball, and there are a lot of things I learned in baseball that I apply daily here. I used to teach high school. I taught high school for a while. That helps me deal with Twitch chat. That experience dealing with 12 and 13-year-olds.
People are getting in randomly.
And knowing not to insult Twitch chat when you're on a Twitch show. I didn't say I was very good at it. Just, but yeah, you never know what experiences and what different fields come to help inform your decisions and that you can rely on and stuff like this. Let's talk about art direction, since I have two art directors here. I don't often get art directors on. Lots of artists. It's like this. What separates an artist from
I feel like he has art
an
directors
director?
all the time.
You were both artists for
What is
many
he
years, but
talking about?
When you became art directors, how
They're
did
just
that
ship art
job
directors.
change?
Where to start?
It literally is art people on all day, every day. That's all they talk about in
It's really
this
hard
fucking
to
game.
sort of explain in a sort of non-crazy way.
What is he
art
talking
direction
about?
is first and foremost, it's different for different people. But, no two art directors are going to deal with the daily in and outs the same way as I do, or Ian on the PU may work differently, and I know Jake works in a potentially similar fashion to I do, I think. but for me, you step out of being in this sort of, not a bubble, I don't think that's the correct way of putting it, but you've got a very sort of, I would say, linear set of goals that you need to achieve. You know, you're part of a thing, you know, you're part of a big chain. When you step into the director's position, you're kind of like, you're no longer playing the instrument, you become the composer.
Conductor, yeah.
If that makes sense. And you need to have a pretty good understanding of all of the things that you're asking people to do, right? So a composer, for example, will play music. Like he wouldn't compose without understanding what he's asking people to do. So I think there's a very large element of that going on. That's at least how I work. I sort of pride myself on trying to be, trying to understand what I'm asking people to do, because otherwise you're just talking complete rubbish, in my opinion. And that's a struggle, right? So you have to go off and you have to learn things. You know,
this guy's god tier, by the way.
I'm responsible.
Any update he's made has been so good.
A wide spectrum
except
of
for the
teams
hex code thing, he gets burned on that one a lot.
Many of which I've not had much experience with, and I've had to, you know, sort of adjust and learn. So it's not like when you get to be a director, you're done. Like it's literally the bipolar opposite. Once you get to be a director, you are literally back at square one with a lot of stuff, which is tricky, right? Yeah.
It goes along with that composer metaphor, because a composer will know how to play piano or maybe know how to play guitar, but they don't know how to play every single instrument in which they're made. They will understand the theory of it, and they will have a concept of how to utilize it within a team. But yeah, it's I imagine one of the interesting challenges, and that was a really good analogy with the composer.
I think the good ones know how to play all of them.
Guide the people who do the work to doing that work that, again, there might be an instrument you do know, and you can be a little more hands-on with that. You can help them with finger placement and stuff. And then the instruments you don't know, and it's like, I have to trust you to do your, to do your job, to do your discipline well, and just, and guide you where I can. It's a really good analogy. I like that. As far as other challenges of art direction, when you're in movies or TV or anything else, you get to control the POV. You always know where your audience is, and you always know what they're going to be able to see, and you always know what they're looking at. And there's lots of tricks you can do to draw their eye to a specific place with scene composition. In video games, it's not always the case. It's often not. You have to direct not knowing where a player is going to be, and even where they're going to be, what they're going to be looking at when they're in that position. How hard is that? I try to wrap my head around, like, how do you direct for a 360-degree field of view?
With great difficulty. So when you're comparing it to looking at something in what I would term 2D, which is film, as in a linear point of view.
I think Squadron's gonna.
It's completely different. Yeah, everything needs to hold up.
You get to choose,
but a lot of principles they do trickle through. The eye should never stare; it should always wander. There's certain things that you can do to sort of feed into that. The laws of decent ratio and lighting sort of still. The principles are still the same. It just takes a lot longer. You can do a beautiful corridor like in a matter of day, maybe two, but what's around the corner? It's kind of it's very tricky. I can't really sort of put into words the challenges, at least on I know you get it on the PU, but on Squadron that we have, especially with the game that deals with vast scale, right? I think Jake will adhere to this. Like, the biggest challenge that you have with our game is trying to portray scale in space, because in everyone's head, when you're going across they've
succeeded that
the surface of a space station, they're instantly going to go to the Death Star, right? And they're going to go, oh yeah, I'm going to fly past all this greebled sort of stuff. In reality, the Death Star would be gone in a couple of seconds. Do you know? I mean, that's the flight model that you're dealing with, right? So, trying to balance those expectations is tough, isn't it?
Tough, yeah. Some of when new people come to join the team, that's always one of the biggest challenges, is getting people to understand that scale, work at that scale, and understand where to keep the detail. Where to, you get someone who's used to
so
making
quietly, the
maybe
gain on the
FPS
mic is so
environments and
high
making
for him.
corridors and things, and then you go, okay, now we've got to make a solar system effectively. And you're like, okay, well, they're trying to break it down in the same way that you would do a corridor, and it's about kind of focusing the art in the right places. And then it more becomes about how do you
Don't be late
craft
to work.
the
I won't be.
experience. And again, you're asking about
I get there very
why
early.
video games, and it's because of the experience. Sometimes you're not just directing or creating artwork; you're directing and creating an experience for the player, right?
Yep.
We're almost out of time. Do you guys ever get to art anymore? Are you when you become an art director, do you never get to pick up
He's
a
got to
pen?
know what it's like.
No, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. It's one thing that I'm adamant about, that I will not let go. I always try and lead by example, right? So, if I'm asking anybody to do anything, it's generally something that I will happily do myself. If that makes sense. So, I'm developing certain. I can't go into details, but I'm developing certain visuals now. I already know what's on the next thing, and I like to own that. I
Nice.
certainly see Squadron as sort of my baby.
Can someone
Chris's
explain
baby, but like on the
Pambachu in
visual
chat
side
what
of it,
entitlement
it's
processing
very
means?
much an extension of me. If
Actually,
that makes sense. And
It's
so
what, like,
yeah,
gives you
it
access
really
to the
helps
game,
the
I
team
think.
when I give them something to work from, rather than delegating absolutely everything. I still delegate, but I like to get that fix. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely true. In which you alluded to at the beginning, it's only been the last couple weeks where I've been, sort of, re-entered into the Squadron fold and helping you guys, set up for the reviews and stuff like this. And I'm seeing things that I haven't seen ever. I have seen things that I haven't
it's the
seen
same issue as Sea Turtle.
since years and stuff like this. And it is. There have been a number of times. I think I can say this without getting anybody in trouble. There have been a number of times where we'll be in this review and they'll be showing, and I'm back running a control surface and whatever, and Nate will just kind of look back at me, and I'm just like I can't. I'm not any good at hiding what I'm thinking about on my face. It's why I never made it as an actor. I'm just no good at hiding anything. So it's what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing you guys put together has invigorated me in recent weeks. So I can say that much. So thank you for letting me in to see that stuff.
I can't stand when they do that.
That's it.
They
We
always
made it
do
to the
that.
end of the hour. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Star Citizen Live. I don't remember what we call it. Gettin' Turbulent, I think is what we called it.
They mess with his
Remember
voice
to
at
keep
the
an
end.
eye out on
They
the
did this in the voice check at the
website
beginning.
and the socials for more details on 318. I'm literally, give me a second here, I'm going to check my chats and see if I have any new messages about stuff, about progress, stuff like this. Nope, just that the right people are in the right place, continuing to work on it.
This is perfect.
And that
This is perfect.
There will be an update on the website or the socials as soon as they have one. So, so we understand. We talk from me here. I understand the frustration. I understand getting the hope up and saying it was out yesterday. It's that's what we wanted. That's what we thought we could achieve. That's what everybody was working towards. And the only thing I can tell you is that the decision, when you realized that we weren't going to hit yesterday, it sucks just as much for those of us internally as it does for you. So, folks are there.
I believe
folks are
what he's
working hard.
saying.
Folks are doing everything.
I
and
do. But
swear
we hear
to
it for so many years that it doesn't
that they're doing everything they
mean
can to get
anything
that
to me
patch
when
out
he
there.
says
We
that
want it
anymore.
We want it out because we need to get that out to move to the next stage, to move to the next stage, to move to the next stage. So, like I said,
it is
we're there.
heartfelt.
We feel you. We're with you.
I'm just numb to it
I don't
now.
know what else I can say about that. So keep your eye on the robertspacindustries.com website, the socials for details. I've said that a bunch of times already. So for Nate and for Jake and for Benoit, who left his phone here, remind me to grab his phone. He's messaged me a couple times. I left my phone there. I am Jared, and we'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.
All right, take care. Listen, I'm not saying I don't enjoy the videos where we get to learn about people, especially guys like Nate, who's been around forever, and get to hear more about him for the first time in the 10 years that this game's been around. But I do miss the older format more. And it is what it is. But it doesn't mean that that wasn't a good show. That actually was a very good show. Nate, Benoit, awesome people, very important people at the company. And it's cool to hear from them. I think the Benoit section was very interesting, actually. So, yeah, worth the watch. Worth the watch. I'm glad I watched it. And I wish Jared didn't tell me not to watch it yesterday. I would have loved to. So, anyway, that was SCL.